Okay, we got that out of the way. So, as I said, I'm Monty Bain, your Southeast Regional Communications Manager, and I'm going to give y'all a short program overview of kind of what the Cotton Board, Cotton Incorporated does. Next. All right, the Cotton Research and Promotion Program is made up of 3 layers. The USDA governs the program. The Cotton Board collects the fees, administers the program, and communicates back to the stockholders. And Cotton Incorporated does all the research, and they promote cotton to consumers to create demand and profitability. Next. Cotton Board assessments. There's producers and importers, and the importers started in the early 90s and joined us there. And the producers portion is 53% and the importers 47%. And that is $1 plus 0.5% of the value of the bale at the first sale. And as you see, we're over 99% compliance. The budget for 2022 is $82 million, and that's up $2 million from last year. The state support program has 7.5% assessments from that state that goes right back into their localized projects. And there's a state support group, and I will mention them in just a minute, and they determine what research goes on by the Cotton Incorporated and the schools and the research projects. And there's over 400 research projects across the nation, but the state support is for Georgia is the 7.5% that they collect. Next. All right, this is the Georgia State Cotton Committee membership on your left. And on your right are members of the Cotton Board and Cotton Incorporated. And they're your folks that are all involved in your state support projects. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Don Jones. And you can join us on all these social medias, but right now, Don, take it over.
Thank you very much, Monty. My name is Don Jones. I'm with Cotton Incorporated at the world headquarters in Cary. I specifically work in breeding and genetics, and I'm the liaison for the 3 states of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. So obviously we're talking about Georgia today. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of that program for the state. You see the figure on the upper left-hand side of Georgia, the budget this year of $579,000. That's based on a rolling average, which is shown in that yellow box, and the top line is Georgia. Let me note that that figure in 2021 is larger than normal, and that's due to primarily COVID-related projects that were delayed. And because they were delayed, we carried the money from 2020 into 2021. So that's about $120,000 larger than it usually is. So, but I just wanted that for clarity's sake. These funds do not include core funds that we invest on the grower's behalf, and also Georgia Cotton Commission funds that your executive director, Taylor Sills, would help administer and manage. Again, those are not included in the $579,000 mentioned at the top. Next. The staff at Cotton Incorporated is shown here. We've got a relatively new addition in the bottom middle. Evie Jaconis has joined us to work in nutrition and plant physiology. The rest of us, I think you've all seen. And on the upper left-hand portion, it shows the various states or the areas that each of us have as a liaison. And those are the specific areas that each of the staff members are responsible for. Next. Here's a list of the state support projects for 2021. I'll just cover one of these and mention a second. The majority of these will be covered by our next speaker, Phillip Roberts, who's your extension entomologist there in the state. So the one I'll mention specifically is by Dr. Ping Chi. It's the 5th one down on the list, functional genetic markers for root knot nematode resistance genes. Dr. Chi is probably in the top 2 public cotton breeders in the United States, and that's judged by the influence his germplasm has on what you are able to buy from commercial companies. He has a lot of interest from the commercial people in accessing his germplasm. Specific to that project, that's been an ongoing project, and he was one of the instrumental scientists in developing, discovering and developing both the genes that control root knot nematode resistance and the markers that are now used to deploy those genes into new varieties by each of the companies that are commercializing root knot nematode resistance in varieties now. The other person I should mention was his postdoc advisor. He's up in Athens. Andy Patterson's up there on the second one. Andy does a lot of foundational type research. You typically don't see the immediate effect on your farm. What it does is it lays the foundation for further research by Dr. Chi and others, not only in the state of Georgia, but across the belt. And he's a Regents professor up in Georgia and is highly, highly recognized around the world. And next. If you are interested in online resources specific to the state support program for Georgia or for any other state, the link shown here is the easy access that's available at the Cotton Incorporated site. And the second link shown below is a website that we've developed called Cotton Cultivated. It is grower friendly and covers a range of topics and issues that we currently fund in research. And if you, they're well cataloged, easy to maneuver and go into the area that you specifically want to. So the next speaker is going to be Dr. Phil Roberts, and he's going to go into more detail and go into the bulk of those projects that I mentioned on the previous slide. Next.
All right, good morning. Dawn, can we, or Stacy, you see my screen okay?
Yeah, it looks good, Phillip.
All right, thank you. All right, good morning. I'm Phillip Roberts, as Don said, cotton extension entomologist with the University of Georgia. First, I would like to thank the Cotton Board, Cotton Incorporated, and the Georgia Cotton Commission for the work they do on behalf of the Georgia cotton farmer. These, of course, are grower-funded organizations. So we thank you, the grower, for your support and the opportunity to work for you. So today I'm going to provide a brief overview of those remaining projects from the State Support Committee. All right, the first project is phenotyping cotton height and flowering using ground image censoring. This project is led by Dr. Charlie Lee. He's actually in the College of Engineering on the UGA campus in Athens. Now, the primary objective of this project is to automate plant monitoring, allowing for very rapid and efficient and accurate plant growth measures. The research is primarily conducted at the Iron Horse Research Farm, which is south of Athens. and in the biosensing and instrumentation laboratory there at the UGA campus. Now in this study, they collected video data on a weekly basis using an autonomous mobile robot. They refer to that as Mars there on the top left picture. Now this platform is guided by GPS in the field. There are 3 cameras set up on this unit, and they collect video data from different angles. Now they also ground truth heights and flower detection in this project, but the middle picture, it illustrates what the camera is seeing, and this model or this learning model actually will identify flowers and note where they are on the plant. If you just look at the picture on the bottom, that's an example of some plants where they monitored white blooms over time. Now, ultimately, this technology is going to assist breeders and other scientists with rapid data collection, rapid plant measurement on various projects. Dr. Lee also cooperates with Dr. John Snyder. Dr. Snyder is our cotton physiologist located on the UGA Tifton campus, and he's lead investigator on this second project looking at the impact of planting seed on seedling vigor, development, maturity, and yield response to nitrogen. Now, in the past, there's been many studies that have attempted to identify cultivar differences in yield response to nitrogen fertility. Some have proposed that newer, higher yielding cultivars with smaller seed and higher length percentage may need less nitrogen fertilizer, where others suggest we need higher nitrogen rates to account for these new yield goals of these improved cultivars. Another possibility is that large seeded cultivars will exhibit vigorous early root and shoot growth, promoting more efficient use of nutrient resources. But the main part of this project, if we look at cotton varieties, they're changing constantly. We've kind of been in a state of flux. If you do research on a cultivar this year, it's very possible that variety may not be here in 2 to 3 years. So the aim of this project was to conduct a study that would identify seed characteristics, and those would be seed mass, oil content, and protein content of that seed, but try to correlate those seed characteristics to better inform us on nitrogen fertility needs to maximize yields, and also how those seed characteristics impact seedling vigor. So initially in this study, Dr. Snyder collected seed characteristics on about 20 cultivars, and then he selected 6 that had a lot of the most differentiation in terms of those seed mass, oil content, and protein content. He took those 6 cultivars and put them in field studies looking at nitrogen fertility rates. Now, using these seed characteristics, particularly seed mass or seed size, he was able to predict seedling vigor. But in these studies looking at nitrogen fertility, he was unable to predict or identify interactions on nitrogen fertility needs to maximize yield based on seed characteristics. All right, our next project is optimal nutrient management and soil health. But if you look at those to assure long-term sustainability of cotton production, we need to be thinking in these areas. Dr. Henry Sintim, who recently joined the University of Georgia, evaluated 5 different management systems in Tifton and also at the Southeast Research and Education Center near Midville to determine how they affect soil health and crop productivity. He looked at conventional tillage with and without a cover crop, reduced tillage with and without a cover crop, and each of those with and without a soil amendment. And if I recall, he used a biochar as a soil amendment. Now, when we look at the results, these regenerative agricultural practices did not adversely affect crop performance. And actually, if you look at like short-term regenerative systems by moving to reduce tillage, we could potentially reduce costs. But he also noted that addition of this organic amendment, this biochar, will require supplemental nitrogen to minimize that effect of immobilization from that organic amendment. Now, additionally, Dr. Centim evaluated how cotton responds to early season and late season nutrient stress conditions. What he observed was yield loss under late season nutrient stress conditions were greater than early season nutrient stress conditions. But overall, the results showed that adequate nutrient supply throughout the growing season is important to achieve greater yields in cotton. And these regenerative agricultures did not lead to any reduction in crop performance. Okay, our next project, Dr. George Velitas. He's addressing improving sustainability by increasing nitrogen and water use efficiencies. This work is done at the UGA Stripling Irrigation Park near Camilla. The specific objective of the study is to find combinations of fertilization and irrigation management strategies that, when used together, result in a multiplying effect to increase nitrogen use efficiency and irrigation water use efficiency. Now, in this study, he was looking at side dress nitrogen. He had 3 methods of side dressing 90 units of nitrogen. The first one was just 90 pounds applied as a liquid in a traditional way. His second 2 fertilization strategies were through fertigation. Again, a total of 90 units was applied 3 times at 30 pounds in one treatment, and there were 4 applications of 22.5 units in the third treatment. Now, he also examined 3 irrigation strategies, so all these were interconnected. He was fertigating when he was making irrigation applications. He looked at the UGA checkbook, smart sensor array, where he's using soil moisture sensors, and also the smart irrigation cotton app. Now, this is the second year of the project, and fertigation appears to have potential for increase in nitrogen use efficiency. And when I say nitrogen use efficiency, I'm talking pounds of cotton per unit of nitrogen. Also, he noted that in both years, whether it was the sensor or the smart irrigation app, they did have higher irrigation water use efficiencies compared to the UGA checkbook. So again, more pounds of cotton per inch of irrigation water by using the sensors or the smart irrigation app. Okay, our next project is led by Dr. Camp Hand. Dr. Camp Hand is our extension cotton agronomist, and he actually joined the cotton team in the University of Georgia in February of 2020. And there's no question that he has hit the ground running. Now, a major component of this project is the on-farm variety performance program. In 2021, he and county agents cooperated with local growers across the production region in Georgia. If you look at the map on the left, you'll see the counties highlighted in red. That is different environments or counties in which trials were established. But 12 cotton varieties were evaluated in these 25 different environments. Now, it's important to see how these varieties perform in different environments. So that's kind of the objective of this, and it complements the official variety trials, which are evaluate many more varieties under fewer environments. But both of those data sets can be found just by contacting your county agent, or you can look at the Cotton Team website, which is ugacotton.com. Now, some additional objectives of Dr. Hand. He did conduct several plant growth regulator trials. These range from looking at varietal response to PGRs to timing and rate. And one thing he really demonstrated this year was timing of your PGRs is very, very important. He also looked at rain fastness on mepiquat chloride with and without adjuvants. So that's very timely information as we have these rainfall events in the growing season. He also looked at wide row cotton. This was the first year. Not sure we got anything there, but he'll continue looking at that. And he dug into weather data with several other folks, trying to better understand what happened in 2020 with the seed code fragments. And the final objective he had was just the standard defoliation research, looking at various treatments and treatment combinations. But one thing he did do in 2021, which I was very interested in, he was looking at what we'll call drift rates of defoliants on late planted cotton and how that impacted yield as well as quality. So we welcome Dr. Hand to the University of Georgia, and we're glad to have you on board. So our next project is led by Dr. Scott Tubbs. And he's basically evaluating replant strategies. So he did this, he actually had 3 initial seeding rates. He planted cotton in late April, early May at either 1, 2.5, or 3.8 seed per foot. Now, one of the things he did to thin these initial populations, he actually mixed seed of a herbicide-resistant variety and a herbicide-susceptible variety. He used 3 ratios to get kind of a random effect. He used 100% herbicide resistance, so you should have, you know, a stand comparable to 1, 2.5, and 3.8 per foot. He looked at 75% resistant, 25% susceptible, 50% resistant, 50% susceptible. And he was able to create this random plant stand. After he established those, he just sprayed twice with glyphosate. Now, one of the things he did, and he rather than, he went and replanted on top of the existing stand. He offset the planter about 3 inches from the original row. And when he replanted, he either had 0, 1, or 2 seed per foot on his replant. So he actually had 2 ages of cotton. But at the end of the day, he came up with a couple conclusions. Number one, planting of 2.5 seed per foot was more than adequate for an acceptable stand and also to maximize yield. He also noted that a seeding rate of 1 per foot was just too low and can result in decreased yield. And interestingly, planting up to 3.8, there was no advantage. You know, that could just be cost prohibitive for sure, but 2.5 seed was plenty under normal situations. Now, in terms of this replant, when he went back and replanted on top of these original stands, in most cases in this trial, he did not see an advantage to going in and replanting. Now, again, on the farm, You're going to have a lot of different circumstances. Some will be extreme. It's been my experience, if you need to replant, you're going to know it. If you have questions, a lot of times you're able to leave it. But one of the things he did mention, and he believes he needs to understand gaps. You know, sometimes on the farm, we may see a 4 or 5 foot skip. That's a lot different than if you still maintain a plant every foot or two. So he'll probably want to continue some of these efforts into the coming years. Okay, the next project is led by Dr. Wes Porter. It's titled Applying Engineering Solutions to Planting, Irrigation Management, and Fiber Quality During Harvest. Now, just a kind of a summary of how I saw this project. Results from this planter study suggest that producers are not advised to plant at speeds much faster than 5 miles per hour. If the planter is not equipped with technology to aid in better seed singulation and delivery. Now, these technologies can include, but are not limited to, advanced seed meters, seed meter control, hydraulic, electric drives, or advanced seed delivery tubes. These would be more appropriate for faster ground speeds during plantings. Now, he also had some irrigation studies. He looked at 9 irrigation scheduling treatments. And the bottom line here, results indicated that a method more advanced than the UGA checkbook, that could be sensors, apps, you know, he used a lot of different things there, but something more advanced than our current checkbook is needed for maximizing yield and irrigation water use efficiency. There's several of these here, and I think a farmer needs to see which one would work on his field, but we do have some opportunities to do a better job with irrigation. Now, the final objective of the project evaluated in-field cotton yield and loan rate prediction using machine learning algorithms. Now, this is beyond my comprehension, but basically what they concluded is their initial results are promising, and when using these machine learning regression algorithms to predict loan rate, you know, in the field. They're promising the results, but more work's going to need to be done there. But as we get more into precision ag and starting to try to maximize returns on smaller units of land, this is something that potentially could help us. Okay. Next project is Dr. Stanley Culpepper, our extension weed scientist here in Tifton, managing glyphosate-resistant Palmer amaranth. Now, he had several objectives in this project. The first objective evaluated residual activity of PPO herbicides. Now, results indicated that Palmer amaranth resistant to PPO herbicides applied both pre and post has been confirmed in Georgia, and these tools are no longer offer a practical benefit for management of this resistant population. And I want to make sure you understand this resistant population. This resistant Palmer population is localized and is being very aggressively managed with multiple modes of action, hand pulling weeds to minimize the scene, minimize any opportunity for this to spread. But just want to remind our growers, it's so important that we're utilizing multiple modes of action because Palmer is a tough one. The second objective, and he's done this now a couple years, but he just continues to show the positive impact of both reduced tillage and use of cover crops, and especially the use of pre's, and just taking some of the selection pressure off our foliar or topically applied herbicides like dicamba or 2,4-D. He continued to evaluate the effectiveness of the HPBD cotton technology, and also looking at dicamba tank mixes and these volatility reduction agents to reduce actual volatility. And there's a picture there on the left. But it's important that we do everything we can to minimize drift and also minimize any movement by other means. Just kind of in closing, he is working actively with the Department of Agriculture to compare how to sample methods influence residue analysis of drift rates of some of these herbicides. And finally, and this is important, he's begun to address this issues with the Endangered Species Act in an effort to soften its impact on the use of herbicides. And really, it's all pesticides used by Georgia farmers. So we appreciate all the effort Dr. Culpepper's putting in there. All right, just a couple more. Here's a project. It's Dr. Brian Vitko. He's actually in the Department of Plant Pathology on the Athens campus. The project is breaking the cycle of cotton blight, engineering novel disease resistance to safeguard the future of Georgia cotton. Well, in this project, Dr. Vitko and his cooperators have constructed genetic materials for creation of 2 new engineered disease-resistant traits against cotton bacterial blight. Now, these traits are currently being transformed into cotton lines through research partnerships with people specializing in transformation at the University of North Texas and Clemson. Next project is development of tools against cotton leaf roll dwarf virus, and that is being led by Dr. Sudeep Bag, who's here on the Tifton campus in the Department of Plant Pathology. Now, since 2019, Dr. Bag has conducted extensive surveys documenting cotton leaf roll dwarf virus across all production areas of Georgia. If you notice the map on the left, if a county is highlighted in red, he has confirmed the presence of this virus, just the presence of the virus. If it's in white and there's cotton grown there, it's just likely because he hasn't tested any cotton from that area. But it's basically from our northwest corner to our northeastern area and across the coastal plain. Now, some common symptoms of cotton leaf roll dwarf virus include the reddening and drooping of leaves in the lower left picture, and then the crinkling of leaves in the upper canopy as illustrated in the top picture. Now, in general, if we look at incidence and severity of cotton leaf roll dwarf virus, it was lower in 2021 compared to 2019 and 2020. Now, although this virus is widespread, yield loss in commercial fields has been rare. And that's a real confounding part of this virus. It's out there, but we just haven't seen major or significant economic yield loss. And for that reason, it's still a researchable topic to but it just hadn't been an economic problem to date. Now, one of the objectives in this was to develop more accurate and economical diagnostic tools, and he's done that. He runs many samples, and cost it becomes significant. So he has done that, and he continues to monitor disease spread and severity and symptomology across the state of Georgia. I also note that Dr. Bag has identified many weed species which test positive for this virus, and that kind of leads in to our next project, which is understanding cotton leaf roll dwarf virus and aphid interactions. This is project is led by Dr. Babu Srinivasan. He's in the Department of Entomology on the Griffin campus. But Dr. Srinivasan is one of the leading scientists on vector biology. This virus is transmitted by the cotton aphid, and cotton aphids are basically going to infest every plant in the state of Georgia each year, every cotton plant. So in this project, Dr. Srinivasan's team has developed a greenhouse-based high-throughput bioassay system to screen plants for this virus. Now, some of his efforts more specifically, he takes the virus and develop the means to transmit that virus to a test plant. So he can take it from cotton collected in the field, and he can take it to his greenhouse and transmit that to cotton or perhaps a weedy species of interest. Now, one of the things he does after that, he does something called back transmission. And again, this is really trying to understand this virus and all these potential alternate hosts, but he will take it from that weedy host and transmit it back to cotton. One of the accomplishments, he's also been able to quantify the actual amount of virus acquired when aphids feed on a virus-infected plant. And I guess the final objective of this project is actually studying some of these alternate weedy hosts, just how good a host are they for cotton aphids. If cotton aphids can't really feed, survive, and reproduce on that host, at least in theory, it's probably not a good source of inoculum that would come back to ultimately be transmitted to a cotton field. So again, it's just really diving into the biology a little more and hopefully going to find some answers. So with that, I'm going to close, and I would once again like to thank the Cotton Board, Cotton Incorporated, and the Georgia Cotton Commission for the work they do. As I said earlier, these are grower-funded organizations, so we thank you, the growers of cotton in the state of Georgia. The cotton team, myself, our county agents, we welcome input and suggestions that would improve our efforts to help you and improve the same sustainability of the Georgia cotton industry. With that, I'm done. So I thank you for the opportunity to visit with you today.